smile. You're all I've ever wanted, and my arms are open wide. Because you know just what to say, and you know just what to do. And I want to tell you so much. I love you. Yay!
And we're 30 seconds in with
Awkward.
Catlike Reflexes. Welcome, everybody, to our first episode. My name is Brian. I'm here with Brendan and Derek. And to be honest, we're just three dudes who like to talk about shit.
Good morning, Internet.
Hello, everyone.
And so we're here in the lovely Video Yeah studio doing our first podcast. We're kind of new at this, so if you could be forgiven for wanting to go and listen to probably a better podcast than this one, but how would you know until you've listened to it?
Here's the thing. They actually, unless you timestamp this, they don't know that this is not the first podcast. So if you mark this as like episode 17, the one where the experienced crew get together, then they'll be like, man, they were really, really rehearsed. These guys
I already let the cat out of the bag. The cat his cat
You can fix it. You can fix it in post, right, Brian?
I can fix it in post.
You can fix anything in post.
You're gonna milk that cat.
Maybe we're just pretending maybe this is like a prequel podcast. We're pretending it's the first episode.
There we go. Prequel.
Like the real like episode 0 kind of. Anyway, today's episode we're going to be talking about sidekicks.
I eat them frequently. I know that I can't mention a brand name. The noodles, the sauce. It's
yeah.
Wait, what? Sidekicks as in the genre.
4 minutes in.
Yeah.
Okay, stop and read. Oh yeah, we're season.
So we're talking about sidekicks, be it comic books, video games, movies, what have you. Batman and Robin, Milk and Cookies, whatever you got.
Milk and cheese.
Yeah, man.
Oh man,
there's a sidekick for you. And so anyway, I just wanted to start off by asking each of you maybe if you have your own favorite sidekick.
It's funny when you mentioned sidekicks. The first thing, my assumption was that we would begin by talking about superhero sidekicks, and that, I mean, I instantly thought that was sort of the beginning and end of sidekicks. And I said, oh yeah, well there's Robin, and there's pretty much just Robin. That's all. That's all that came to mind was just talking about. There's been how many of them? 4 or 5 at this point. So we could just talk about Robin for a while. And then looking into it, I realized that there's a pulp history to sidekicks that I haven't really considered. But of course, I mean, only somebody who's a comic book geek would be so blind to the fact that it has a history, has a heritage, right? So there's anyone from Tonto, the Lone Ranger, to Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes. So there's a pulp history there, and I think they really do work best in heroic settings. So you see a lot of that in sort of action and adventure. You can have comic sidekicks too, but usually I think that they're exceptions to the rule. You call them sidekicks, but I don't think that you necessarily can.
Right.
But let's all have a digression, though. So, Derek, do you have a favorite sidekick?
I do.
Who's your favorite sidekick?
I want to digress, and then I'll immediately announce it.
Go for it.
Okay, so never mind the moderator. You guys just talk.
This is
we'll figure it out.
No, go ahead.
I enjoy
Digress.
moderation. You keep at it.
Do it.
The real meat behind sidekicks is, in my opinion, the way that it is a structured narrative for the hero to address the audience. Well, junior sidekick, this is the exposition of what's going on. At which point the junior sidekick says, that's great. Oh no, I'm kidnapped. I really like Jimmy Olsen, although I have read very, very few Superman comics that involve him.
That's funny because I wouldn't have, the top of my mind, I would not have really considered Jimmy Olsen to be a sidekick at all.
Precisely.
But I guess he is, like, in the sense that he's the character with whom a younger audience can relate to Superman.
Yeah, and he's also in the same vein as the damsel in distress, perpetually getting kidnapped, put in harm's way, and needing rescue by the hero. And yeah, if you look at sidekicks, that would be my favorite because he's just so geeky, squeaky, clean, always nerdy, always needing help. Except for those rare occasions where he gains superpowers and has to go save Superman, of which it's a stupid one-off, non-canon.
But if you hang out with Superman long enough, it is going to happen. So
there's all the colors of the rainbow for Kryptonite to be.
Yeah, that's right. So they're the primary colors, and you mix them together, and you get intermediate kryptonites.
Yes, there's one that just gives him cramps.
Yeah, that's right.
The fuchsia. Oh,
yes. Ow.
Every now and then he has to. One that gives him kidney stones. He has to pat the tiny, glowing little orb of kryptonite.
Put him in his whiskey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Whiskey stones.
Whiskey stones.
Bam! Something just shot out of the Antarctic.
So yeah, that's right. So, no, the thing is, so I think you're absolutely right talking about the role of the sidekick and serving as an audience surrogate. And I think there was a moment in Golden Age comics when they realized that they were telling ostensibly crime stories to little boys,
Right.
and basically said, "How do you tell these crime stories to little boys?" And this was sort of so superheroism was a thing, but they didn't. The codes didn't really sort of shake out yet. Superman wasn't really an archetype that people built off of, and a lot of it, gaining popularity from stuff like Detective Comics, came from the pulps and the serials. So it was stuff like The Shadow, but repackaged for a younger audience. And the question is sort of, why would I listen to this? Why would I care? Why would I pay attention to this? If Batman's so great, why would he give me any time? If Superman's so great, why would he have any interest in me? And so I think that is why Superman has a best friend who's a little kid, which is actually odd.
It is super odd. Robin has always, I felt, just been odd. Batman is like, his inception is, my parents were killed, and so I'm going to be the scariest goddamn thing I can think of to scare the shit out of everyone. And then it's like, but I'm going to bring with me a young boy dressed in yellow and red, and just to lighten the mood. You know?
Just
it's like, I want them to shit their pants, but I don't want, but I don't want to have to buy them new pants.
to bring things back up.
Quickly, can you pull up the
Yeah.
original costume for Robin? I'm curious if he was actually yellow and red on his initial appearance.
I think at the very least there was yellow and green in there.
Because they always had odd colors for their initial, and then they would come in.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's true, sometimes.
What were you going to say there, Brendan?
Oh, I was only to say that, I mean, when you mentioned Jimmy Olsen, talking about Robin, I think that they are Golden Age narrative devices, Golden Age holdovers. They don't really make sense. They don't really, at least kid sidekicks, don't really scan in terms of the modern landscape for what comics has become. Oh yeah, so what edition? So this is Detective. So this is Detective Comics number 38.
Yeah, we're looking at the cover right now.
Yeah, the sensational character Robin the Boy Wonder. It's old enough that the Batman logo in the top left corner still has his elongated ears on his cowl, but he looks. But the Batman, as we see him there, is fairly modern.
And on the cover, Batman, the actual Batman on the cover, it shows. If you haven't seen it before, you can just Google it.
Oh, sure.
Just Google Robin first appearance, comes up right away.
Excellent.
But have a look.
And Batman looks happier. He's got a big smile on his face all of a sudden, and that I guess was that a way to soften Batman a little bit?
Well, I think so. When you consider that people have a mixed relationship with camp,
right.
And I think that fighting somebody and having a good time and smiling and essentially swashbuckling is something that people have a mixed relationship to. So in Marvel, Spider-Man gets to do it and nobody bats an eye. That's just Spider-Man who he is. He gets to make jokes. But when Batman makes jokes, he says, "Oh, well, this is stupid. This is from the show. This is dumb. This is no good." He's not Zorro. He doesn't get to humiliate people. He breaks bones. Batman puts people in traction. And the relationship to violence changes in comics as we go through the decades. But Robin was always a swashbuckler, right? I mean, he has bright colors and
Or an acrobat.
Yeah, so he's an acrobat and he humiliates thugs and sort of bounces around. So I think that yes, he's designed to be escapist, but the same way that DC's Captain Marvel is meant to be escapist, a little boy who gets the power to to grow up and instantly be able to be the smartest, fastest kid. I mean,
Does he become his own sidekick?
yeah,
at
I
that
think
point?
he kind of he is his own. In Captain Marvel, he is his own sidekick.
Right.
He's this sort of little boy who gets
Oh no,
protected by
duct
himself.
tape, my only weakness. And now I can't say Shazam. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's right.
Why did
I mean, it's or I mean,
If you want to attack it, you attack him right after he's been to the dentist. And then ask him a bunch of non-yes or no questions. I don't think.
just baffle him. Is this
So,
real,
so do you think...
is this real life?
Is it gonna be forever?
You know, that's people view that on the internet as if it's funny, but it's actually existentially terrifying.
That's true.
That he thinks that might be forever. Because what if the answer was yes?
Yeah.
How do you talk the kid out who's like doped out of his mind?
The
on
dentist
drugs,
severed your spine by
being
accident.
like, this is yes, this is going to be forever. You have the dim understanding that things used to be better.
And I'm recording you.
This is a big reveal. This is your new existence.
Okay, so Robin seems to have been the first, or at least the first popular sidekick in comics, or at least in a, like I said, in a popular sense. And then that spawned more sidekicks. Did more comic book heroes then end up with sidekick type characters?
Yeah, I think there was a boom. I can't really.
Crypto.
Yeah, I mean, once you get like.
Yeah.
There are sidekicks, which is one thing, but then by the late 60s, they all kind of had families, right? So Crypto's part of the whole family.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very...
That's true, because if there's Crypto the dog, who is that trying to appeal to? Other dogs that read... Like, you know what I mean? Like, Robin's supposed to be like, oh, appeal to young kids, but the dog is
Well,
like...
it takes it... I mean, it comes out of, oh, if there's a Superman, what would a Superwoman be like? Or a Supergirl?
Or a Superboy.
Or a Superboy.
But
And
with that said, was there ever a flip side of the Wonder Woman comics where it was like, and now Wonder Boy and Wonder Daughter? Did she become a mother archetype, or did they just kind of familialize her family?
Well, I
Wonder
think
Cat.
one thing to remember
That's a
is
good point.
One thing to remember is that Wonder Woman didn't really get retreated in the Silver Age in the same way.
Okay.
Like Wonder Woman exists firmly within the Golden Age, and is this weird, wacky, crazy sexual bondage thing. It's strange, and there's all sorts of gender stuff going on.
Because as much as Wonder Woman is a popular character, they always talk about the big three: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman. You say name a female superhero, most people probably immediately say Wonder Woman. But if you go and ask the same people, what's Wonder Woman's deal? What are her powers? Where does she come from? People are just like, I don't know.
She was on TV. She jumped over cars.
Yeah, she had a whip, I guess, or
Yeah,
something.
but-
Like,
but-
people don't really know.
Here's the thing, but nobody knows if someone's like, oh, what's Golden Age Green Lantern's ability? No one's
Yeah.
going to say, oh, he has a magic ring and he's weak to wood, and he has a purple cape, or he's dressed like the Pied Piper.
I guess what I'm trying to say about Wonder Woman is that she was never really developed in her image. Her image was never really developed by writers more than she was the girl one.
No, it's true. My point though is that the great thing about the Silver Age is that they got to ransack a generation of comics that people stopped caring about, or had become déclassé, and they could say, you know what, everything that's dumb is gone. We don't need to talk about it ever again. In fact, it existed in a comic book reality, but this is real life. And in real life, all those wacky Golden Age stories were books, but the Flash isn't fast because of Greek magic and this, and the Green Lantern, as we envision him, is purely a Silver Age creation, right? I mean, these characters get sorted out, but Wonder Woman never gets sorted out. So Wonder Woman, what's her deal? She has a magic whip, an invisible jet, and she hates men.
Right.
And she's never really gotten anything other than that. And so I think that modern treatments of her are a little squeamish with that.
Right.
Nowadays, comics, magic is fine in comics, but I think people more respond to the Marvel model, where it's just space magic kind of thing.
Sure, yeah.
So Thor gets to be magic because it's just space magic. It's kind of Arthur C. Clarkean.
That's true. All the magic characters, at least in DC, are kind of just weird. Like Captain Marvel, Black Adam, those sort of magic characters. Nobody seems to like them.
I don't know.
I mean in the universe.
Gotcha. Okay.
The other characters are just like, you're magic, and
I don't know.
that's not cool.
Zatanna. She's okay, but she came from her dad who wasn't liked, I think.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I'm
I'm
not good at my
The thing is that
Right.
if you're Zatanna, right? If you're running around and you're dressed like a magician's assistant, then you're just magic. It's not like, oh, is it like a magic ancient technology? No, I'm magic. Like I can pull a rabbit out of a hat.
An actual rabbit.
Like an actual rabbit with an actual hat. I'm dressed for the occasion.
A tabir.
Yeah. So sell it on Kijiji.
I can actually saw someone in half and they don't die.
Yeah.
So would you... Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I don't have anything. So proceed.
Okay, I'm just going to pull it back a little. We kind of got off sidekicks a bit, which
Yeah.
is fine. But I want to read this quote to you that I've read it years ago, and I always remembered it. And it regards Robin and his appeal to young children. Jules Pfeiffer writes in a book, Comic Book Heroes. I couldn't stand boy companions. The super grown-ups were the ones I identified with. They were versions of me in the future. There was still time to prepare. But Robin the Boy Wonder was my own age. One need only look at him and see he could fight better, swing from a rope better, play ball better, eat better, and live better. For while I lived in the East Bronx, Robin lived in a mansion, and while I was trying somehow to please my mother and getting it all wrong, Robin was rescuing Batman and getting the gold medals. That's a different kind of take on Robin, because usually when people talk about Robin, they say he was a way for children to identify their way in, but this is a different kind of opinion where Robin could be a bit off-putting, because I guess it depends what version. He's like 13 or whatever. If you're a 13-year-old boy reading it and it's like, oh man,
What do you think?
I suspect it's going back to the archetypal role of the exposition person, but mixed in with the marketing of the people in charge of the comics going, we need to sell. The J. Jonah Jamesons just trying to peddle to the kids saying, I don't care, they need another kid in there. But it doesn't work. They're just going to be the exposition. Oh, it doesn't work, well, throw a kid in. Just call him Kid Flash. It's great. We'll toss a helmet on him and he can run almost as fast, but he'll always get captured.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean...
That's my take.
Batman is traditionally paired with Robin, but not always, especially in recent years. There's a point where some writers just kind of say, like, yeah, we don't need a Robin, we just won't write him in, and some people do. Batman can function with or without Robin, so why have a Robin at all?
I think the comics are in love with their past, and I think that when you have all these properties that you're trying to maintain, be it DC or Marvel, generally speaking, the editorial purview is going to be, we need to keep these guys, we need to have them doing something. And the standard has been bigger is better. So you have, since the various universe-threatening crises, the Thanos stuff, the Darkseid stuff, anything that ends in crisis in DC, you have everyone showing up. And that's everyone. That's everybody you own. And they're all doing a thing.
The Omniverse.
And
Right.
The only thing that you can do with sort of these like Z-listers is show what they're doing or kill them, and every now and then you just kind of get ridiculous collateral damage from that. Like when they just killed off Ted Kord, and his Ted Kord's deal is that he's dead now. The Blue Beetle, the Silver Age Blue Beetle's deal is that he's shot in the head.
Yeah, in the lead up to the Infinite Crisis, for people who may not know, there's a side issue where Ted Kord kind of the Blue Beetle goes and figures out what the villains are up to, and none of the other heroes really want to help him because they think he's kind of pathetic. So he decides to go out on his own, does discover all these secrets, and then what I've talked about before, one of the most devastating panels I've ever seen in a comic book, the villain just blows his damn head off with a gun to the head. Like, it's really jarring, and so for me, that did really stick with me. So the fact that Ted Kord was dead his absence was the story.
Certainly, but if you have the Charleston comics characters, you get to do something with it, and maybe the thing that you do with it is just kill them, and then just get rid of them. Yeah. So similarly, when you're looking at sort of just these big cast things, it's hard not to do callbacks. People love to be reminded of stuff, not even the stuff that they experience, but to know that there's continuity. So, and that might be the Batman of Zurn R. and Grant Morrison's Batman R.I.P.
Or Deadpool announcing that Squirrel Girl beat Doctor Doom and saying, it's in this book, it's canon.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So Squirrel Girl stuff, kind of wacky old school stuff. And so whenever people are like, oh yeah, they brought back Batmite, yeah, they killed him, it's sort of like, well, okay, so the 4 people who care about Batmite, that's what they get. Just like, oh, he's back.
Decent send-off.
He's back. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Is it kind of like when you hear that a really
hero.
old celebrity dies, and you go, oh, I didn't know they were still alive.
Yeah, that's right.
And now they're dead.
And I have to feel emotions about this celebrity now.
Yeah.
So it's tough not to bring Robin back, but I think that when you do see Robin getting brought back, unless it's an act of reinvention, like arguably you might see that in Dark Knight Rises, which I haven't seen. I only know that there's some seminal seeds planted there. But like if you look at like the Batman Forever, Batman and Robin stuff,
yeah,
I guess it's just Batman and Robin in which there's Robin. It's just a mess, right? It's just ridiculous.
Because he's a man.
Yeah,
he's just like a guy.
He's dressed as a little kid.
But he has a motorcycle.
Yeah,
it's like, but yes, you're right. It is a mess.
So yeah, so you age him up, and that's the difficult thing because
Batman has a part. He just has a Robin.
Yeah, because you have these characters, and the only thing the little kid can do is age. It's not peanuts; they're going to grow up.
Right.
And every now and then you need to do something, and it's a problem if it's Spider-Man. But usually, when it comes to Batman's awards, people start maybe count on their hands and say, well, Dick Grayson grew up, and then Jason Todd never got to grow up, and then Tim Drake grew up, and how many adolescences of lifetime has Batman been practicing? And it kind of gets weird. I think that Teen Titans is dumb, stupid, and a waste of time. But Derek, I know that you've had some good experiences with some various forms of Teen Titans. So could you rebut my position that Teen Titans is the stupidest and dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life? Go.
All right, Teen Titans, good versus sucks. Go.
Teen Titans, good.
Derek, your team, good.
Well, here we're hitting a difference because
I thought Derek was going to leap across and slap you.
Yeah, it's true. These were
I'm used to this.
Okay, all right.
I've been preparing for weeks on this.
I'm gonna qualify my statement. As I think that I agree with Jules Pfeiffer in talking about Robin, the appeal of Robin. By the way, if somehow you're listening to this and you've made it to this, what is this, like the 16-minute mark?
And we're about 22 minutes in.
22 minutes in. I don't know what this is going to look like once we edit it, but Jules Pfeiffer is a comics god. If you can get your hand on a copy of his Man on the Ceiling, it's this beautiful, haunting work. It's an illustrated children's story about a kid who is drawing comics for popularity, and he's struggling to come to terms with what art means. He can't draw hands yet, so he has all his characters have their hands tucked behind their back. It's crushingly brutal in a way that not a lot of children's stories are. Not to say that it's dark, but that it's realistic. It portrays human relationships. Like, he just loves comics, and when people talk about novels that treat comics, people talk about, Cavalier and Clay, but no, it's Jules Pfeiffer's The Man on the Ceiling. It's a seminal work. You probably get it for like $15 on Amazon. That's my present to the world. So, but I agree with Pfeiffer talking about like Robin. So like Dick Grayson gets grandfathered. I guess he's Nightwing at this point, but he's still dressing up with Robin. And he hangs out with all these other superhero sidekicks in a building that's shaped like a giant T. And like as a kid, I didn't understand why anyone would want to. It's fine that they're doing something, but I had no idea why anybody would be interested in that. I thought Starfire was ridiculous. I thought that Cyborg. Is it Cyborg?
Yeah.
Cyborg. I thought Cyborg was ridiculous. I thought they were all ridiculous. And just like the epitome of second stringers. But it's I don't want to change my mind here. I'm going to let you do that. But at the same time, it does show a sort of a mindfulness. Like the very fact that you have these sidekicks, they have nothing to do with them, so you may as well.
Okay, here we go.
So
tell
me,
go for
it.
So go.
So
we have three things.
Come a little closer to the mic.
We have three things to address here.
Okay.
We have sidekicks as they're portrayed by Kid Batman, Kid Superman, and all of the other junior versions of the superheroes themselves. We have the formation of superhero teams of which they threw together all of the young kids.
Right.
And we have the X-Men.
Okay.
Because keep in mind, I'm a Marvel guy, not a DC guy.
Right.
So
all right.
I don't actually recall in the Marvel Universe a time when the superheroes, I think Marvel, if I'm not mistaken, the golden age of Marvel was essentially in the 60s when you had Kirby, Lee doing Thor, Hulk, all the
absolutely.
Phases.
They made their bones in the Silver Age. Absolutely.
And they started with the X-Men, which was a group of teenage superheroes. I don't know when the formation of the Teen Titans was, or for that matter, the very first league of teenage superheroes.
Brian, could you Google that for us?
I am doing that right now.
Wonderful.
Brian, could you Bing that for us, please? Could you ask Jeeves quickly, Brian?
This program is brought to you by Ask Jeeves.
If you can dogpile that, I would really be happy.
Could you just...
Shut up, I have to type in altavista.digital.com.
Yeah. If you could please DuckDuckGo that, so the NSA won't know that you have been trying to find out.
Okay, guys.
All right, sorry.
Sidekicks.
Yes.
So we're looking at the junior versions of the superheroes, and I guess they had a story where they said, let's just lump them together, we'll toss them on a spaceship and send them out and fight evil, and they'll succeed, and we'll have a superhero team made of kids. But they didn't exactly explore that, I don't think. And, there was no societal pressure beyond, I hope I get good grades in school. No, my acne might go away. There was no societal pressure except, I hope Jill likes me.
Right, but there is some of the fun, so it is kind of little John Hughes, right? I mean, they do they do have crushes on each other and they fight with each other.
Very, very minimally.
Right, yes.
When the X-Men came out, that actually was a very teenage-oriented... Like, it was made with teenagers in mind.
Right.
And I feel that with Xavier being the father type, the Batman to all of these little superheroes... You had elements of them gaining their own popularity, becoming superheroes unto themselves, which would extend later into Marvel's massive amount of teenage superheroes such as Cloak and Dagger, Jubilee, Dazzler. Just any of the X-Men were just kids.
Oh, that's true. I mean, and not just X-Men, right? When you talk about, I think that the most successful teenage superhero is Spider-Man. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with him they saw, we can make this work. Maybe not so much with Captain Marvel, he's a teenager. Oh, bam, he's a
I mean because in Captain Marvel he's a little boy that becomes like a cleft-jawed man, and I think that by the time that Marvel was getting to it, they realized that the reader was somewhere in between, and could be spoken a little more directly to about their experience. When you mention all the X-Men stuff, I think that's pertinent, and it lends itself to, I think that the longer they did X-Men, the more they realized they could mine stories. They went younger and younger and younger. So I mean X-Men begins with these adults who are ostensibly instructors, but by the time you get stuff like X-Force, I think, and into the 90s, you have a proliferation of stuff about the kids at the School for the Gifted and their experiences. And again, it all kind of gets a little John Hughes, and take that as you would. And the added wrinkle in X-Men that they're ostracized by society, etc.
I'm getting Brian right now to Google the first appearance of the Teen Titans and the first appearance of the X-Men. I think X-Men was 1969, if I'm not mistaken.
First appearance of the Teen Titans was in 1965 in The Brave and the Bold, number 60.
Okay.
And featured,
so 65.
And featured kind of a team-up of Dick Grayson, Robin, Wally West as Kid Flash,
right,
and Aqualad. So didn't seem to really... It wasn't in the form that most people know now.
I remember that Aqualad was there because he had been put in a foster home for a while because he had been living with Aqualung.
Oh.
And no, is that you could take that out. You could take my
No, I'm going to put a tuba in.
Okay, you can. All right.
Or I guess that's whatever that is.
The Jethro Tull joke stays. All right. So
Also, in the Brave and the... I'm reading this really like scanning it, but in the Brave and the Bold number 60, also joined by the fourth original member, Wonder Girl, Donna Troy.
Donna Troy's Wonder Girl. Donna Troy as a character
Wonder Woman's younger sister.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't forgotten about, that was her sister.
Yeah.
And later Green Arrow sidekick Speedy, who we were talking about before the podcast.
Yeah, Speedy.
Poor Speedy.
Speedy fell through the cracks.
So
Teen Titans, yeah.
Sorry.
Teen Titans.
So Teen Titans go.
The appeal of Teen Titans was almost non-existent prior to the original cartoon coming out in the late 2000s,
mid to late 2005, etc.
Yeah.
And it was very heavily anime themed and anime influenced. That captured a very large subset of the cartoon populace who wanted to invest themselves in superheroes and anime, and so a lot of them latched. Now, it lasted, I think, somewhere around 5 seasons, and ultimately it just faded from popularity. They ran the show's course and it faded. Until about 2 or 3 years ago, when Teen Titans Go came back as a complete revision. Teen Titans Go is not well received in any community on the internet.
Right.
Because the hardcore fan base loved the adult version, or the more human version of the anime in the original series, as opposed to the super deformed, really goofy version that they were being portrayed. It is most closely affiliated in style with Batman. What is the new Batman cartoon?
Brave and the Bold.
Brave and the Bold, which is just a completely campy, loopy out there. I maintain that Teen Titans Go is more like Brave and the Bold meets Ren and Stimpy. It's
Yeah, it kind of looks like Dexter's Lab or
absolutely,
something. Like,
and it is
in its style.
It is single-heartedly one of the most hilarious cartoons on the internet, and no one watches it. You can listen to the voice actors, and they are laughing hard every line of dialogue they deliver because they are having absolute fun. But you can't get that from the community who wants their old versions back. They hate it. Anyways, I digress, but Teen Titans Go is one of the funniest cartoons that I've seen in the last 3 years. Please, if you're listening to this, go look at the clips on YouTube. It is just amazingly funny.
Find them, give them all your money somehow. It doesn't even matter.
Absolutely.
If you have no money, steal it. Steal it from somebody.
If you just send it to me via PayPal, I'll take care of it.
Before we move on, though,
yes,
I just want to. So you've made the case for Teen Titans Go a lot, and I know that you're in a minority position and you feel that it needs defending. But I do know you begin by speaking very eloquently about the lasting success of Teen Titans, that the show that you mentioned in mid 2000. How and why did Teen Titans succeed in a way that previous incarnations failed, do you think? Why was it popular?
Why is it more popular than Teen Titans Go?
No. Why is it more popular than the original incarnation of Teen Titans?
Oh, I see.
Because Teen Titans had been around for 30 years, right?
And it's demographic, and it's the new generation. Teen Titans back in the day in comic book format was as successful as Justice League Europe, which had a lot of really great characters, but a very limited fan base. You had to be a DC fan, and you had to be aware of the characters in that universe.
You can't fool me. That's just the EU. Justice League Europe.
The reason it succeeded is because there really had been no teenage superhero cartoon on television to that date, except for the X-Men in the 90s on Fox.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was and what prior to that it was the live action Monkeys in the 60s. There was no real
live action Batman had Robin,
Josie and the Pussycats,
right,
and Archie for that matter. There have not really been too many teenage groupings that have
I see
stood the test of time. It always comes in generational gaps, and this just happened to be the time when Teen Titans was there, and the teenagers, they grabbed onto it.
Yeah. I know that it's had a lingering success, and I think that certain elements from it have become iconic. I think that there were some criticisms of the new 52 version of Starfire, that she wasn't in keeping with the younger, friendlier, more assertive, more clothed Starfire of Teen Titans. So I think that there was, and I think that the chorus on the internet was, why would you take this beloved character and do something terrible to her? But Starfire, as depicted in New 52, I think, in some ways, not necessarily doesn't have a strict fidelity to, but I think in some ways borrows from sort of the earlier Starfire, the Starfire of the Teen Titans of DC Comics, which must have had readership. I'm certain that I'm alienating people by talking about sort of my estrangement to this as a concept.
But you're not. No one read the comics, and I use that as a very generalized, loose term, but no one read the comics for Teen Titans except for just a very small, hardcore fan base. It wasn't until the comics that it truly gained its popularity. Yeah, there was minimal comic readership. It was on par with, Legion. Legion 91. Wow, who can forget Brainiac in that pivotal role?
I already have.
So now let's step back a little bit, because at the top of the show we were talking about. Listen to me. At the top of the show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this is a show.
This is a show, and there's a top of it.
Yeah. At the top of our show, we talked about different. Brendan especially was mentioning sidekicks from other genres besides comic books. We talked about
Jack and Daxter. Wait, what?
We were talking about Lone Ranger and Tonto. We talked about Sherlock and Watson. Those are, and in Batman and Robin, those are sort of the ones that most people know. When you think of sidekicks, that's usually who people are talking about. No one's. If you go up to, like, basically, if you want to know, like, who's in the public consciousness, you ask, like, your grandma or something, like, who she knows. And who's your grandma going to know? Batman and Robin, Tonto, and Watson. So why are those particular sidekick pairings, why are those the ones that people know? Is it just because they're more popular, or is there something about their particular relationships that strikes a chord with people?
I don't think that sidekicks made the characters more popular. I think that the characters were popular in a time when having sidekicks was part of the style at the time. Like, remember, there were a lot of sidekick characters from that era, and also the era of comic books we're talking about, so moving from the 19th to the 20th century, that don't exist now or are incredibly problematic because they are incredibly sexist or more often racist. Right? So Will Eisner, who is the Atlas who carries comics on his back, like he's just this titan. So this is his fate.
He signed a contract with God.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a bad.
And he got the good end of it. And that's how powerful Will Eisner is.
Once he got out of that contract, he made Image Comics.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but Will Eisner, the Spirit. Everyone's like, oh, the Spirit is great. The Spirit, a side character, I believe, is named Ebony White.
Really?
And he is this pickaninny character. Like, he's half as tall with him, and he is sort of this horrible Negro caricature that Will Eisner was like, well, he's got to have a sidekick. May as well be just a horribly racist portrayal of a black person. Why not?
Right.
And that
because that's hilarious.
Because everyone loves that, and that'll never make anyone cringe in 100 years.
Right.
Kato.
Yeah, no, Kato too, right? I mean, what do you do with Kato, right? And I mean, I guess what you do with Tonto is you just get Johnny Depp to be him.
Yeah.
And Johnny Depp gets to be Tonto because he's gone on a spirit quest or something. He just gets to be Tonto.
I think he's just enough. He's just enough native that he gets to be on APTN. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They show a lot of movies on APTN with actors who just kind of like qualify. Johnny Depp, Okay.
I'm not asking that like you need to be status before you play Tonto.
No.
But
if the actor you had to play Tonto could just as easily have played the Lone Ranger, he's probably not enough.
No, probably not the good. We probably don't have.
However, that said, I did enjoy the Lone Ranger film.
I can't speak to it. I only know that he did it. So
I know. I'm like one of the only people that saw it, I think.
All right, since we're digressing a bit, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Moonroach and Elrod.
I don't know.
I don't know those.
Who are these characters?
Cerebus.
Okay, right. Okay, Cerebus.
Yeah. They were parody and satire sidekicks.
So talk a little bit more about that. How was that different from... as a satire, what was its deal?
No more satirical than the Deadpool team-ups that you see nowadays with Bessie the Hell Cow, the aforementioned Squirrel Girl. It's just a satirical take. Where do you go from there?
Well, I think that where you go from there is once you have satire and it becomes popular, it just stops being satire. Like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was satire. But it got popular, and the joke that they were ridiculous was lost the moment you can make action figures. So the fact that Cerebus was an aardvark but was a barbarian in the Conan dark fantasy tradition. That was just the joke for a while. After a while, the joke in Cerebus is that Dave Sim went crazy and doesn't think that women have souls.
Yep.
So and
you can almost see the moment the switch flicks. By the way.
Yeah, and then and all the characters just stop doing things and start just talking about how women don't have souls and have to prey on men. Like he went actual crazy and it got actually terrible.
Yes.
Like it's not like, oh, and there's some very strange influences. Oh, there's a little Susan fascism. It's just like, no, Dave Sim is now crazy and everybody wants just him to get well.
I fell in love with Cerebus in around the issue 50 mark, and I started collecting it. I actually collected and read every single issue of Cerebus, and yeah, in around the 275 mark, I was already done well before then. By 300, I actually gave away the entire collection. I couldn't face it. I just gave it away. It might as well
when
have
things
gone in a
get
trash
that
pile.
when things get that bad, I think that there's a moment of reflection where you have to say, was this always terrible? You know, and sort of like we were talking about The Dark Knight Rides Again. You have a copy right here.
Batman, the Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Yes,
Frank Miller and Lynn
Yes,
Marley.
Strikes Again. That's right, rather than Rides Again, because there's Dark Knight Returns and The Dark Knight Strikes Again. So Strikes Again is very different, and in a lot of ways alien, because I mean, The Dark Knight Returns in many ways was a touchstone for what Batman was to become, and still I think arguably is. But nothing of what we see in The Dark Knight Strikes Again really has informed comics, other than sort of the resurgence of a certain cadre of Golden Age heroes like Plastic Man. But you get to this stuff and it's just junk, and you say, well, is it all just terrible, like Frank Miller? And then
Was he just tricking us all?
was this just an elaborate prank, Frank Miller? But you go back, some stuff stands up. It's like, sorry, yeah, please first.
No, I was going to cut you off.
Go for it.
Else. Transmetropolitan. Spider Jerusalem had two sidekicks, both assistant reporters, and I can't for the life of me remember the names of the two of them.
Brian, can you please Wolfram Alpha that?
Boom.
No, I think they are. The one was the reporter. I think the niece of his editor, and the other one was a woman who.
Wolfram Alpha.
Yeah, we're going to we're just going to use all the strip.
I know.
Wow. We're just going to work our way through them.
Please continue.
No, and the other one was an ex-stripper character that he meets in sort of
that just became
first issues.
the meat shield.
Yeah, and I mean,
she was wonderful. They were both wonderful, very human, excellent writing. Transmetropolitan, if you haven't read it, fantastic series.
Yeah. Or if you want to save time, just read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. No, I'm joking. No, Transmet is wonderful. Transmet is great and a lot more fun, I think, than its premise would
Shannon
suggest.
Yarrow is
I
exotic dancer.
Shannon, and I think I always, though it's CH, I think I always pronounced it Shannon in my
I would
head.
agree with that.
So maybe you don't hit the C. So it's Shannon Yarrow, and
I'll let you read that one.
Oh yeah, Yelena Rossini, and she was the daughter of Oscar Rossini. I know this because Wikipedia knows this since it's from my face. So Transmetropolitan is this. I mean, so this is a separate genre. You couldn't call it a superhero comic in the same way. Although the way that Spider Jerusalem moves through his world, I think it is heroic. So I mean, and there is more action than anything else. I mean, comics as a medium aren't very interested in the act of writing, or the literal act of writing is creation, and there's a lot of that actually happens. I mean, gonzo journalism, I think, has its sort of moment in Transmet. So if you can get your hands on it, I mean, there's something like 9 or 10 or perhaps 11
thought it was
trades.
12, but
oh yeah,
fair
I mean
enough.
around there. But I mean, and it's all of a type. It starts out strong. I would recommend starting with the first and going from there. It's seminal enough that your local library might have a copy.
Incidentally, when comics do devolve into just a pure writing exercise, usually the creator goes crazy and hates women. So just, buyer beware.
or people of other cultures.
Yeah, or
Looking
just
at you, Frank Miller.
yeah, the strange phobias shake out. Actually, when you talk about writing, Warren Ellis has written extensively on the writing process and how to write comics. Collected from his blog a book called Coming Alone. And if you're interested in how to write a comic, what that looks like, what that feels like, he has comic script. He talks about different comic writers' processes, talks about his processes, and he actually talks about his preferences in comics and what he sort of looks at and what it brings into it. I read Coming Alone at a time when I had really found myself in a rut with comics, and I had sort of come to the conclusion that the only comics worth reading were indie comics and alt comics, comics with an X, comics where it was about the narrator just kind of slouching around, having sex, and hanging with the penis out. And I was like, aha! Nobody else slouches around and has sex and then hangs out with the penis out. This is clearly the apotheosis of the form. And I couldn't understand why I suddenly had no appetite for comics. The only things I was reading were just kind of like Canadian alt comics. And I was like, so clearly it's Chester Brown, it's Julie Doucette,
Julie Doucette.
and it's Joe Matt. And I mean, no criticism to what they do. I mean, we could tackle it, but I mean, I had this when I was an undergrad, and I was a comic book elitist, and I was like, oh well, you know, it's this or mouse, and that's it.
Right.
And Warren Ellis basically says like, this is stupid. Comics can be fun. And shakes out that elite, and I mean, it was a very light wake up call, but the fact was, I sort of was like, oh, Warren Ellis thinks this is stupid, I can too, thanks. It was a good moment for me. Sometimes you read writers talking about writing, or critics talking about writing, or even just critics talking about art, and you can feel your opinions change. You can feel your perspectives change. And for me, Warren Ellis's Coming Alone is one of those books. Most of it's culled from his blog, so it's eminently readable. And sometimes there are even links, but I don't think he knows that you can't click on them because it's a book. But it's a fine read if you can find it.
Great. All right. We're coming up near the end of the show, and I thought I'd open it up and give you a question.
Okay.
That you guys can talk about.
All right.
Of all the comic book sidekicks that we talked about, or even ones that maybe we didn't, take all the comic book sidekicks, put them all in a big cage. Who wins that fight? Who wins the sidekick cage match?
Wonderful question.
It's a big cage.
Yeah, I mean, you had to fit them all.
There's probably some folding chairs in there.
They all,
Wonderful, because you can't.
It's big enough. It's big enough so it's roomy. Yeah, I mean the X-Men. I don't.
As many sidekicks as there are, there's probably only a few
Yeah,
that are
you
going to
can't.
rise
Yeah,
to the top.
you can't include the X-Men because
Jubilee, I suppose, but
that's a maybe. I mean that's an
Gee,
ensemble
look,
comic.
she's sparkling at
You
Kid
could
Flash.
you could say that she's Wolverine's sidekick.
Exactly, that's what I'm going at, yeah.
Yeah,
But
a little bit.
wow, all the sidekicks.
Okay, let's narrow it down. Is it Robin?
It would have to be Superboy. You know what?
Superboy.
It would have
but
to
is
be-
he a sidekick?
Yeah, well, yeah, because
Or is he just young Superman?
You could say the whole thing about Kid Flash. No, he is a sidekick.
Okay.
But Kid Flash was always Wally West, right? Where Superboy used to be Superman as a kid, and he hung out with Batman as a kid, and then that's no longer a thing. So it would be
Now
Superboy.
he's a clone or something.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. He's something.
But they banished him. Like he was he became super evil and super powerful. They took him out of the. He was the Destructor. I'd say him. And I would like to be extraordinarily comedic and say it would be Dazzler or
Right.
something. But no, it would have to be Superboy. He would just annihilate everyone and everything.
That's a strong pick.
Which? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I would say my pick for the one who would win would be out of all of them, the one that would survive would be Jason Todd, Batman's second Robin.
Yes.
Because what are they going to do? Kill him? Right? Like it's not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't kill Robin. Why
can't.
you can't kill? You can't just kill Robin. Like they're not going to just be like, oh, he's dead and he's gone forever. Like so. I mean,
One phone call, Jason.
Yeah.
One phone call.
that's all it takes.
That's all it takes. On my speed dial, Jason.
That's all it takes. So clearly, Jason died because you can't kill Robin.
So you say Superboy. You're not quite sure, but maybe Jason Todd.
the hood.
So who gets the booby prize? Of all the sidekicks, which one in the cage match dies first?
Oh, jeez.
It got quiet in here.
Well, our massive databases are just compiling.
That's why we have Wolfram Alpha to do that.
That's right. Dove?
Man.
Hawk.
Are Hawk and Dove? Is Dove Hawk's
No,
sidekick, or they're a pair?
Hawk and Dove are a pair. I think
They're a
that
duo.
I think they're a duo, and I think that the male-female duo, like Thin Man style, it's its own thing. To suggest that Dove is a sidekick is, I think there's some presumption there.
Dove is not always depicted as a woman.
That's true.
Sometimes Dove is a man. That's why I...
So what? The white guy sidekick? Come on, bro. You gotta be racist to me. Be racist about this. So the what? Okay, no, I can't. No,
I don't know Hawks are superior.
Yeah, that's right. Hawks are superior. They have larger talons.
I honestly don't know who would die first, because
first?
there are some extraordinarily lame sidekicks in the... I would say Watson. You know what? The dude's got no superpowers. He's kind of old, a little bit decrepit.
That's yeah. That's right.
What's he gonna do? A power blast? No. Teen Hulk smash.
He gets injured. What's he gonna do? Heal himself? It's not like he's a doctor.
Teen Hulk Crazy Magazine issue 71.
There is a teen. I didn't know this. There's a Teen Hulk. Raised by Hulk and She-Hulk. Let's say you're a woman.
He's green, but he has all these red spots.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Let's say you're a woman making your way in the world. She-Hulk, is she not a lawyer? She's past the bar.
Yeah.
But
she's Bruce Banner's cousin.
Yeah, so you also get blasted by gamma radiation or whatever, a blood transfusion or something. Yeah. And you also get to be the Hulk. You could be anything. You don't have to be She-Hulk.
That's
you can
true.
call yourself literally anything in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
And you go with She-Hulk.
Same with Power Girl.
Yeah.
Or
I think that Power Girl is a fine name. Power Girl is better than Supergirl.
Yes.
They fixed Power Girl's costume recently. This happens. Yeah. They have to every now and then.
They made the skirt shorter.
That's right. No, they turned into a skirt. No, they gave her jeggings. No, there's a new there's a young black girl playing Power Girl. She's a teenager, and they had her running around in the Power Girl costume, and people were saying, why does she need the boob window? She's a kid. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, people want the boob window. And they're like...
That's sort of her superpower.
Yeah, her superpower is that you can see her boobs.
So now she looks like she is very close to the similarity of the 80s Dazzler, who had a spandex leotard with a bomber jacket. She has... similar to the Batman yellow emblem on her chest where the boob window would be, but it's just covered. It's just a circle, and that's different coloring scheme, of course, but that's essentially.
You know what? I'm really glad to hear that, and I know, I know a lot of people like the boob window. I think it's incredibly sexist.
I think that anybody who did like the boob window, and they can make arguments for it, they can make an argument based off of tradition, they can make an argument based off escapism. They're terrible people, and they should be disappointed.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. I'm supportive of anything that makes their lives even slightly worse. So, I appreciate it for reasons of spite.
You know what? I agree with you, and I hadn't thought of it until you said that.
Yeah, I think
you're right. I think something about Power Girl made me embarrassed.
Yeah. For the medium, and then every time that they try to explain it, she'd be like, "Oh,
people be like, no, comics aren't sexist anymore." People are like, "Oh no," and they show a picture.
I don't know what
Girl.
I stand for, so I didn't put a logo on my clothing. It's like that's not how clothing works.
No, exactly.
That's not
how flight aerodynamics works.
Yeah,
and
apparently that's not how boobs work.
No,
like they just sort of float there.
Which made me very sad when the most recent incarnation. Rebooted with a female writer. I can't remember what her name was.
Who's currently writing Power Girl?
I can't remember.
Or writing.
Yeah, and she made Power Girl, and I can't remember even what her name was. Kara, I think. Really, really strong. She was independent CEO of a company. It was great, but then she kept getting back into that costume. I'm like, you're the writer of this comic. Surely you can at least. Make it so that her strong, independent nature says,
she puts on a cardigan or something.
Yeah. And on the one hand, I guess you could make a case that if you have superpowers, you get to decide how you dress. But, it's a power fantasy. It's kind of ridiculous, and these things need to go. But going back to...
three men are going to tell women how they should dress.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
That's right. Even if they have superpowers, we know better than them.
That's right.
So
We hope you're still listening to this podcast by now.
at this
Please.
at this the 47th minute. But going back to the sidekick cage match. I'm trying to jog my memory, and it's not coming back. I should be taking notes here. I joked about Jason Todd, and I think that
Too soon?
Yeah, that's right. He was a hero. He died a hero for standing up for his beliefs. No, Jason Todd Robin. So you have this poll, late 80s, and the phone-in campaign. People could make the call and say whether Robin should live or die. And just by a couple hundred votes, it was voted that this... Because already they were like, okay, this Robin's a gritty Robin. He's an urban Robin. He's a rebellious Robin. He doesn't listen to Batman. And people didn't like that. It didn't work. And they have him beaten severely and then killed with his birth mother in a bomb that the Joker planted. And then, I guess, Superboy gets angry and punches reality, and he comes back, spoiler warning, I guess, at this point. And now he's running around with the Red Hood. But this is decades later. So, generally speaking, when something has continuity, people say, I'm going to honor that. It's because something horrible happened, and they think it's too good to undo. Yes, horrible things that happened to sidekicks before, especially in DC. Like, we're talking about Speedy, who in the late 70s was a smack fiend. Green Arrow couldn't keep Speedy off the smack. And so it's like, what kind of superhero?
And Marvel couldn't keep Smacky off the speed.
Yeah, it's true. And then after suing out,
I don't know.
What does that mean?
now in DC,
I don't know. We're an hour in. I didn't say anything for a while.
Yeah. The DC character of Smacky is now called,
Smacky.
they call him Shazam now. It's
Hey,
a better name anyways.
Hey, Rails, get over here.
Yeah, Rails per hour. No, but it's fun. You can have a ward be addicted to heroin. It's a little ridiculous, but if your story is about social issues, then you can sort of do it. But if you have a ward be beaten to death by your nemesis and killed for a little bit of emotional resonance, the game is lost. It's just over because the very premise of kid superheroes, kid sidekicks, is that they exist in a world that's safe enough for them to do their thing.
Okay.
Because obviously they're doing it because the world's safe enough for them to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't even be a thing. I mean, Sean Baby on the internet. Sean Baby from Sean Baby on the internet. Sean Baby from Sean Baby makes the joke like it's as if a cop had a little kid dressed as a cop with him in the cop car driving around. Like, everyone recognized that as absurd. But you're making a claim about the nature of the comic book world, okay? You could call it its ontology. The comic book world has rules, and in the same way that in the Looney Tunes cartoon, somebody doesn't fall until they look down, but they never fall and they break their back, and then they're in and they're in traction, and the next one it's sort of like, oh, there's not going to be Roadrunner for a while because Wile E. Coyote got really hurt by the Joker. Wile E. Coyote got really hurt by the Joker, and he's just all fucked up. Maxwell Lord shot Wile E. Coyote in the head, and he's just dead now. I used to love Wile E. Coyote. What happened to him? Oh, Maxwell Lord shot him in the head, and he's dead. Oh. Well, is there a Wile E. Coyote? Yes, there is. He's 17 and Hispanic and can fly. Oh, that's cool. As long as somebody completely different is calling themselves Wile E. Coyote.
That's
right.
right.
Sorry to get back to the Blue Beetle stuff, but but you kill Robin, and the pact is broken, right? Mm-hmm. And it's sort of, and then it's sort of like, I hate the Joker for killing Robin. I hate him for murdering this boy that I brought around with me. It's, what the fuck were you doing with a kid, man?
Right.
What were you doing with this?
It kind of ruins it for everybody.
It ruins it,
not just Batman.
It ruins it for everybody. Every Batman villain gets to be like, "Hey, Bats, you're Joker. Yeah, I'm the Joker, and remember when I killed Robin? Remember when I just hit him with a piece of metal until he stopped living? I do that because I'm crazy in the Joker. Why did you have a kid with you? And Batman's like, I don't know, I had custody. I couldn't leave him at home.
It was my weekend.
I needed to fight crime. Like, it is instantly undone. And I think when you say it ruins it for everybody, I do think it ruins it for everybody.
Really quick question. I read somewhere recently that people were questioning, why is the Joker so powerful? Why do they always put him up in league with Darkseid? And how is he the most powerful villain in the universe? Do you think it's because he beat a sidekick to death with a club? Do you think it's because he shot a sidekick in the spine and made her paralyzed? Because no other sidekick had, or plural, had been beaten, mutilated.
Because he has the will, not the strength, but the will to do other things.
It's not necessarily that he's the most powerful in the universe; is that they've written him to be the most powerful because he'll do stuff they can't write for any of the others.
I agree with
the Joker. Maxwell Lord taking on the most powerful heroes in the galaxy.
I agree with Derek here. It's not that he has the will; it's that the writers have the will to allow him to do horrible things.
Okay.
And
so you couldn't have the Riddler do it, because that would change the Riddler too much.
Well,
you can make the Joker do the things that other.
You're talking about all Batman villains. I think that Batman is good as an example here because Batman really became interested in violence, and because Batman in his inception had a gun and he was like, I hate criminals and I guess I'll just have to shoot them. And then for a while he didn't shoot them, but every now and then, his Batplane had a gun and he's like, and there's one panel where it's like, normally I hate taking the lives, but these guys, forget them. And you have Detective Comics where he's posing with a gun and so on, but onward from there, and then you sort of get this Batarang wielding Batman, and maybe guns are for losers and maybe he doesn't need a gun. And so you have this Batman, this very sort of like soft, violence-less Batman in the '60s, but but in the '70s the relationship changes, and so you have Batman being like, "I'm going to beat this guy really bad, and I'm going to put him in the hospital." It's like the hospital. Wile E. Coyote doesn't end up in the hospital, and this guy ends up in the hospital. By the time that you get to the '80s, Frank Miller's, which is I think in some level just thematically about violence. Or at least uses violence, definitely informs its moral aesthetic. You have Batman breaking people's necks and being like, I didn't kill him, but he's going to only be drinking juice for the rest of his life. I'm a hero because I didn't kill him. It's sort of like, whoa, what's happening? You're horrible. You're a brutalist. This is vicious. So I think that killing Robin comes from that tradition, and paralyzing Barbara Gordon comes from that tradition.
Right.
She'd have to stay paralyzed. People were enamored with the Killing Joke. Mm-hmm. And it's Killing Joke stands out, but Alan Moore is...
It's still popular.
Yeah.
Just as popular today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Killing Joke gets read. And I think that those are the kind of things that are going to be read and remain relevant, the closed world kind of things. When you say the Joker is better than all the other DC villains, I think the gooniest thing in DC and Marvel is that they exist in the same world and are friends.
Right.
That's stupid, and there's no escaping it, and it creates problems. It doesn't solve problems. So when you have like the Teen Titan comic, the cartoon on the TV, they're just the Teen Titans. And maybe Batman's a thing, and maybe Superman's a thing, but maybe whatever they can do it at their leisure. But it's all within their lens and their aesthetic. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you just have them, and you need the pieces to fit, then I think that it just doesn't work aesthetically. People understand that they're just a little piece of something quite larger. So the notion that the Joker is somehow worse than all of the sort of the galactic threats that exist is just patently absurd. Mm-hmm. The idea that Batman can beat up Superman is patently absurd. Mm-hmm. I'm saying Batman can beat up Batman can beat up Superman means I like Batman.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean he has kryptonite gauntlets. It doesn't mean he's a detective or a scientist or has thought it all through. It means when someone says that, all they are saying is I like Batman. And that's fine.
That is the craziest, boldest statement that you could be doing. Episode 75, not episode 1.
That's right.
Batman. Wow.
And with that, let's end our podcast here on that note. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Derek, for sharing your thoughts today. Let us know what you think. Do you have a favorite sidekick? Who do you think would win in the Battle Royale? Who do you think would die first? Is Robin stupid? Were he and Batman gay lovers?
Oh,
That was a serious question as posed by Frederick Verdum. Was
Yeah.
Yes,
were the gay
yeah.
lovers? Also, I did figure out who would die first.
Oh.
In the Battle Royale,
Curious.
Speedy of heroin,
Yes, yes.
All right.
because that shit will kill you.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Stay in school.
Stay clean.
That's right.
All right. That was Catlike Reflexes, episode 1, or is it?
Dun,
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 dun.
dun.
Stay tuned. We'll have more action-packed information and chat for you coming up in episode 2? Question mark?
Dun, dun, dun.
That's good.